بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد الصادق الأمين. Welcome, dear brothers and sisters, to the new topic under the information gathering. The information gathering is the second phase on the system development cycle, which we will discuss here, the determination of gathering the information from the human or from the environment surrounding. If you recall, we say that we have we have 7 phases in the system development life cycle, starting by identifying the problem, the opportunities, and the objectives, and which we have discussed it in especially in the last class, which is the system planning. And then second phase, which is this phase we will discuss today, which is the determining human information requirements. Under this is all information that the gathering or the tools or the methods to gather the information from the humans, the all the business partners, suppliers, internal suppliers and customers, even the staff inside the company with different level, the operational staff and so on. So that's what we are going to discuss today, and we will move to the third, which will prepare prepare the information to be analyzed in the second stage. So as we said, that's the process, or the actually the whole chapters will be organized according to those 7 phases. So this week and also this week we will discuss the determination of human information requirements, which is we will discuss as I said, the information gathering and so on. This slide is just to recall what we have mentioned and discussed in the introduction of this chapter, when we identify the activities that will be processed or we can do in this phase, determining the human information requirements. So interviewing, sampling and investing hard data, questionnaires, observing the decision makers' behavior and environment, prototyping, and learn the who, what, where, when, who, how, and why of the current system, and then the expected output, analyzing the understanding how users accomplish their work when the interaction with the computer, begin to know how to make the new system more useful and usable compared to the current system. And then the analyst should also know the business functions. Lastly, how have complete information on the people, goals, data, and procedures involved. So this is just a summary. So let's look into this in details, into the gathering information in. We have 2 types of information. Information that the system analyst or the group, project team, when they gather the information, they need to interact. They need to interact either by doing interview with the partners, either the external or internal, or the other information that is need a different method to collect, like from observation, from reading the text, or the viewing the website, or viewing the documents and so on. So according to this different type of information, we have different type of methods to gather the information. So we have an interactive methods, which is that interact with the respondent, either to be the interview, questionnaire, and so on, or an obtrusive methods, which we need to gather information indirectly without interrupting or interacting with the human in this sense. This The main objective of the interactive methods is to elicit human information requirements by doing interview, joint application design, or questionnaires. We will discuss each one of these methods in details after a while. But the thing that commonly between those methods that this methods is simply talking with and listening to the people in the organization in order to understand their interaction with the technology through the series of careful composed questions that we ask them questions or we and we look for answers from them. The major topic we will discuss in this chapter, first we will discuss in details about interviewing in terms of preparation for the interview, the questions type that we can ask on the interview, the arranging of the questions, and then reporting the interview answers. Then we have the user stories, telling stories and so on, organization stories, and we will discuss this also. Also, we will have details discussion on the application design, JAD, involvement in terms of the involvement, who's supposed to involve in this design, joint application design, and the location we're supposed to handle. And then we will discuss also in questionnaires in terms of writing the questions, using the skills, design, and administrating of the questionnaire. The interviewing is an important method for collecting data on human and system information requirements. What we can get by doing the interview or performing the interview, we can collect information in the interviewee opinions, interviewee feelings, goals, and key human computer interaction concerns. For opinions or the interview opinions may be more revealing and more important than the fact, because the fact you can get it from different sources, but seeking the opinion rather than fact, you can discover the key problems in from the interviewee point of view. And the feeling, you can understand the organizational culture and more fully by listening to the feeling of the respondent or the staff. For the goals, the project of the organization's future, you may not be able to determine the goal through any other methods, but when you have the interview, you can extract the goals that those guys are believing on and so on. So the last one in terms of human computer interactive, you can get how to say you can read some narrative documents or some documents for internal use about the human computer interactive or the mission and vision of the company, but you cannot get the aspect, the human aspect, the system usability, how blessing and enjoyable the system is, and how useful this system is in supporting the individual tasks that cannot be acquired by just observing, but by getting the people talk. Okay, so and that is the beauty or the advantage of using the interview. Okay, now let's have a look into the first step or the first major topic on the interview. So the first one is interview preparation. So in interview preparation, the first thing is to for reading the background material. Background materials means any information or background about the interviewee, about the company itself. So you do your homework, as you say, as we can say, do your homework first and come to interview and ask questions that is not available in the materials. Where to get these materials? You can get it from the website, from the corporate annual report, from the corporate newsletter if they have any publication sent out by the any brochure, any advertisement, and also try to build a common vocabulary to better phrase the interview questions in the maximum of the interview time. And after that, the second one is establishing the interview objectives. So you need to establish the objectives of the interview, what you want, what area you are going to concern or focus on. So it may be five, four, six key areas that related to the human computer interaction. You need maybe about decision making behavior related to the technology or the system, the information, the expected output from the system, and so on. Then you need to decide also in the preparation, decide whom to interview, whom you're supposed to interview. So you need to decide, you need to ensure that the balance between many users' needs are addressed as possible, meaning that you not to focus only in one group like managers, just focus in the managers or the top level of management, and you disregard the other groups like the salesman and so on. In this in this system, when you develop a system, you need to involve all users related to the system. Okay, and then the next is preparing the interviewee, and we mean by that we need to call ahead, keep the interviews within 40 minutes to 1 hour at most. So you need to inform them in advance. Give sometime you need to send a draft of questions just to, especially if you are dealing with top management or the operational management, in order for them to be ready for to answer the questions. Lastly is deciding the questions type and structure. We will discuss the type of questions, the open-ended questions or closed questions and so on. So that is, you need to decide here, and you need to decide also what the type of questions and the design that you are going to use in your interview. So here we have the questions type. We have open-ended question and we have closed question. Here is the closed question. If you see, closed questions means you ask the questions and you have closed options. This is the options that they should choose either one or more than one questions from the options that you give them. It's like the MCQ questions in the exam, whereby the constructive questions, the open-ended questions, you give them, you ask the question and you give them the space, or you give them the chance to write something on their own. That's what we call open-ended question. Okay, but we sometimes also we limit this answer within the word they are able to write. Open-ended questions allow interviewees to respond how they wish without length or structure limitation. Also, it is appropriate when the analyst is interested in breadth and depth of reply. The kind of questions or the example of questions, what are your opinion of the current state of business to business e-commerce in your company? So we expect the interviewee to answer in as they wish, according to their opinion or according to their perception and belief and feeling. What are the critical objectives of your department? Once the data are submitted via the website, how are the procedures? Describe the monitoring process that is available online. What are some of the common data entry errors made in these departments? What are the biggest frustration you have experienced during the transition to the e-commerce. So this kind of open-ended questions, which is we expect the interviewee to say something, not just simply say one line or yes or no questions. So you can see here the questions is kind of constructive questions, expecting to get opinion or feeling or feedback from the interview. Okay, what is the advantages of open-ended questions? So first is it put the interviewee at the ease, allows the interviewer to pick up on the interviewee's vocabulary, also provides richness of details, reveals avenues of the further questioning that may have gone untapped, provides more interest for the interviewee, always more spontaneously, and make phrasing easier for the interviewer. The disadvantage of open-ended questions may result too much irrelative details, possible losing of control of the interviewee, may take too much time for the amount of useful information gained or gathered, and potentially seeming that the interviewer is unprepared, possibly giving the impression that the interviewer is an a fishing expedition. A fishing expedition is a terminology for saying that you don't know what you are going to do. You just throw your fishing hook and waiting for whatever. So you are not well prepared. You don't know what you are not well prepared, and you don't know what is the main objectives for the question that you are throwing. So the analyst need to carefully consider the implication of using open-ended questions for the interviewing section. Close interview questions limit the number of possible responses. Close and it's appropriate for generating preciseness, reliable data that is easy to analyze, and the methodology is sufficient, and it requires little skills for the interviewers to administrate and analyze this data. Let's have a look into some examples of closed interview questions, like how many times a week is the project repository updated. So we expected to have certain options, one time, three times, five times, so or daily base, seven times. So we need that options will be down, and he cannot or the interviewee will not go away or give more details except for what you give them. And then the second one, on average, how many calls does the call center receive monthly? Which of the following resources of the information is most available to you? Complete customer compliance form, email complaint from the customers who visit the website, face-to-face interaction with customers, return merchandise, and so on. So this we are expecting them to or expecting the interviewee to ring them according to the important. List your top two priority for improving the technology infrastructure, and sometimes we give a list and we ask them to click the into option. Who receives this input? And we also give them, we expect to have short answer, or even sometimes the options, we give them the options for answer. The closed interview questions, we have the pros and cons, or the advantage and disadvantage. So the benefit of the closed interview questions: save interview time, easily compare interviews, quickly get to the point, and maintain control of the interview, covered a large area quickly and obtain relevant data, and also it's easy to to analyze and administrate the gathered information. In the other side, we have the disadvantages. May be boring for the interviewee, may feel to obtain rich details, may miss some main ideas, and also may fail to build report between interviewer and interviewee. So this figure is illustrating the comparing between the attributes open-ended and closed questions, and you can see here in the left side we have the open questions and we have the closed question in the right side. So for with regarding the reliability data, the reliability of the data for the open-ended question is very low, and it is high on the closed question. For the efficient use of time, it is high in the closed side and it is low in the open-ended question, because in the open-ended questions you are giving them questions that they may give their feeling. Some people will give will talk, if even sometimes the people who like to talk, so maybe they will talk for long and you cannot control the time and be efficient in terms of the time. And also in terms of the precision of data, in the open-ended questions it's not precise. You cannot get the precise point, but you can get much data compared to the closed questions. The breadth and depth, you will in closed questions you are giving them less limited options, so you will get little in the depth of details, where here in the open-ended questions you will get much data here. And then also in terms of interviewer skill required, in the closed questions is little, because you need just to do some statistical simple analysis, whereby here you need to have more skills in terms of reading and matching the opinions and the feelings and the perception of those interviewee. And then ease to analyze. In the closed questions is easy, and it is difficult here because we need to do what we call content analysis here to find out the trends and the main themes for each interview. Bipolar questions is a kind or type of closed question limits the interviewee even further by allowing choosing from options like yes or no, true and false, and agree or disagree. The bipolar questions should be used sparingly. It is kind, as I said, it's kind of closed questions, and you see the examples here where we give them the options to select. Normally, we use not only in the interview in interview, we also use this kind of questions in the survey question. Props question is the question that provoke more details about the previous question. So and the easy or the strongest props is saying why. When you get, let's say, asking questions how you do this, then they explain the method or the behavior of any interaction with the how you key in, let's say how you key in this data, then they tell you the method that they are using, then you see why you do it like that. So it is essential to the prop so that we don't accept the superficial answers. Sometimes they are ready with some answers, so you try to break the ice and let them get more real answers and real action or real fact. So the purpose of the propping questions is to get more meaningful information, to clarify, to draw out, and expand on the interviewee point of view. So the pros, not necessary to be open-ended questions or closed questions. Sometimes it may be following closed questions or open-ended. After we have discussion on the type of interview questions, open-ended questions and closed questions, let's have a look into the arranging of the questions. So we have two ways to organize and arrange the interviews. First, the pyramid method and the funnel method, and we have the third one is kind of combining both the pyramid and funnel method. So for pyramid method, we start with closed questions and working toward the open-ended questions, whereby the funnel starting with open-ended questions and working toward the closed question. Diamond starting with close, moving toward open-ended, and then ended with closed questions. So you can see that is the diamond structure of questions is kind of mixing. It's like sandwich. You start with closed questions, then you have moved to open-ended questions, and then you end up with a closed question. Some of you will say, what for we understand this? What for we have all of this information about questionnaires and interview we methods and so on? Believe me, this kind of skills or information is useful for you in your business life, real life. Later on, you may ask to do some project you involve in team project, not necessary in accounting information system or developing a software, but it will be part of your business. So if you have this skills and this knowledge, it may make different in your career. So for pyramid structure, as we said, it is kind of inductive organizing of the interview questions. Also, it's useful if you want to ending determining about the topic. So begins, as we said, with very detailed, often closing and often closed question, and then expands by allowing open-ended questions and more generalizing response from the interviewee. It is useful or if the interviewees need to be warmed up and ask them close questions, and then we give them a chance to address the topic in more details in the final question. Okay, so this figure is showing how we start. We start with the pyramid structure start with specific questions, which is closed questions. For example, what specifically is the problem you are experiencing with your firewall? So that is very specific, and you can see the ended questions is kind of general questions. In general, how do you feel about the security of data, virus, that importance of internet access? So we are expecting more details in those kind of questions because it's open-ended questions, whereby this kind of question is kind of question that we are expecting of some list of information. It will not give much details. The funnel structure is the opposite. So begin with generalizing open-ended questions and then concludes with a narrow that possible response using closed questions. Provides an easy non-threatening way to begin on the interview. It is useful when the interviewee feels emotional about the topic. So you can see this figure is giving example of kind of questions. So we start with the funnel structure, begin with general questions. What is your reaction to the new website procurement system? And then you can see that the closed questions or the specific questions is in the final is in the end. Is there any essential item that has been excluded from the site, from the website? Okay, so for the diamond structure, it's giving, as I said, it's like sandwich. You start with specific, and then in the middle we have open-ended, then we have we have the closed questions in the end. So diamond shaped the structure begins in a very specific way, and then more general issues are examined, and then conclude with the specific questions. Combines the strengths of both pyramid and funnel structure. Takes longer than the other structure, and this figure is showing how it is how is the structure of the diamond shaped structure of the interviewing. And you can see here we have closed questions, and also we end up with closed questions. In between we have general questions. After we ask the key area questions, either the funnel or pyramid or diamond structure of questions, and then we need, when we close the interviewee, we should consider a few things to ensure that we are professional and we didn't miss anything. So we should ask always if there is anything that the interviewee would like to add or to give. Also, we should summarize and provide a feedback on your impressions about the interviewee. Maybe you say, I'm really grateful for the information that you add. I get many information from your experience and so on. Also, we can also ask whom we should talk with next. So ask the interviewee to suggest someone to interviewee based on their experience. And then set up any future appointments if you are if you would like to have a second session to interview. So better to have to determine or to schedule the appointment for in the end of the session. Lastly, thank them for their time and shake the hands if possible. But in coronavirus, no need to shake the hand. So after we finish the interview session, we should prepare the interview report. And the best is to write the report as soon as possible after the interview in order to keep, because sometimes you may forget a few things, especially some impression, some feeling, face impression on the interviewee in answering the questions, that you may forget it if you wait for long. So in order not to have suspect in your data, so better to write as soon as possible after the interview, and then you should provide in first in initial summary, then more detail. And it is good to review the report with the respondent, and it will help it helps carefully the meaning of the interviewee had in mind, and it let the interviewee knowing that you care about their opinion, and they may give you some correction or some they may suggest that we doesn't or we did not mean this point, so they may give you better answers. Okay. Stories is the what people like to share within the organization or within the community. Sometimes you share your behavior or what you experienced in the past for some incidents and so on. So the story that we are targeting as a system analyst, as a project team, is the stories originate in the working place. The organizational story are used to rely some kind of information. When a story is told and retold over time, we should consider that it take on a mythic quality, mean it will reduce the quality of the reliable information. Isolated stories are good when you are looking for facts. The enduring stories captured all aspects of organization and are the ones a system analyst should look by seeking. We should also understand that the stories sometimes is give you comparing to the interviewee, to the interview method. The interview method, sometimes those people are preparing. to answer the questions. So sometimes they will give you superficial answers, typical answers, whereby for stories they just tell the story, they just talk. So it is good to listen to stories, organizational story. Listening to a story, we should understand that it is not efficient. It takes considerable more time than asking interview questions. Listening to story may be more rewarding, and stories are more easy to remember than the interview response. There are four types of business stories. The first one is experiential story type, which is describing what the business or the industry is like. So telling the describing the business of the company and so on. And the second one is explanatory story, is explaining why the organizations or the company acting in a certain way. And then the third one is the validation story. Validation story is trying to convince the people or the listener that the organizations made the correct decision. And then the last one is the prescriptive stories. And in here, the story aims to tell the listeners how to act or how to react to the organization's performance or business. Okay, and the system analyst can use this kind of this type of storytelling as a complement to other information gathering methods like interview and questionnaires and so on. As a member of project management or member of system analyst, we should engage the organization participant by reacting to the stories and listen to the reaction to stories told by some members of the company or even system analysts themselves, and match one story to another by recounting it to other participants and collaborating with other with the stories. It is a way to deeply understand some of the problems associated with the information system. Joint application design is another method to gather the interactive information from the human users. So joint application design, or short form is JAD. JAD is a technique that allows the analyst to accomplish requirements analysis and design the user's interface with the users in a group setting. Joint application design can replace series of interviews with users community. So the first or the joint application design is uh, created or the started the company to work with this is IBM. The motivation was to act or to cut the time and the cost required by the interviews. It also creates more use in identifications with the new system as a result of the participative process. So, who should involve in the this JAD session? Um, it's all project team members must be committed to the JAD joint application design approach and become involved. They should be involved, and those are the main people should be involved. The executive sponsor is the what we call is the senior person who will introduce and conclude the JAD session. And then the system analyst is the person who give opinion about any disproportionate cost of the solution proposed, which is the expert opinion, giving expert opinion. And then the users, those who can articulate the information they need to be performed in their job, as well as what they desire or prefer in a new or improved computer system. And then session leader, this someone who has excellent communication skills to facilitate and moderate the session and appropriate interaction between the peoples in the judge session. And then observers is the analyst or the technical experts from other functional areas to offer technical explanation and advice. And then lastly is the script or scribe, those, or we can call it the secretary, formally writes down everything that is done in the judge session. With to hold the judge meetings, normally it's preferred to be offsite. Why? Because it's comfortable and it should be comfortable surroundings. No, no much interaction or interruption from the working place area. Minimizing the distraction from the office place, and attendance schedule when the participant can attend. Should have the agenda, clear agenda, the also the orientation meetings. Okay, so this example of rounding table and the environment should be available for judge session. We should have a projector picture, and we should have the facilitator, and people are surrounding each other and interacting, giving the names tag for each one, so in can address each one of them. And then we also can have agenda placed in here in the wall, so everyone knows what they should discuss in this session, and what is the objectives and so on. And we also should have order processing overview, open issues, should flip chart, so we can add on and edit the session items, or let's say issues or any interaction. Okay, now let's have a look into the benefit and drawbacks of JAD techniques or method. So the benefit of JAD: first, time is saved compared with the traditional interviewing. Rapid development of system, improving users' ownership of the system. The creative idea production is improved, but um in the other side is the drawback. The drawback of using JAD: first, JAD requires a large block of time to be available for all session participants, meaning that we cannot, or the participant in the JAD system cannot, JAD session cannot do concurrent job. They should isolate their time and for the judge system in order to conduct this session. Compared to the interview, they can do their work and can stop let's say stop the interview session for some time to do important work and so on. But for JAD, they should complete the work. That's why it is suggested to conduct the JAD session offsite the company. Second drawbacks: if the preparation of the or the follow-up report in incomplete, the session may not be successful. Also, the organizational skills and culture may not be conducive to judge session. So that is the main issues with JAD, but also there is a greater benefit of using JAD comparing to the other traditional methods of gathering. The last interactive method of gathering information that we will discuss today is questionnaires. So questionnaires can gather information from the key organization's members, either about attitude, the attitude what people in the organization say they want, what they want, and the beliefs, what people think is actually true, and behavior, what the people or what the organization's members do, and for characteristics, what the people what the appropriate what is the what we can say the specification or the properties of people or things in the organization. Okay, when to use the questionnaire. So questionnaire methods is good to use when the organization's members are widely disparate, meaning that they are in very disparate locations like multiple multinational companies or have different branches and so on. So it's good to use questionnaire. Many members are involved with the project, so it's not let a small number, so many people, so better to use the questionnaire. And we need also when we want to do exploratory work for the project, so better to start with questionnaire, and maybe we end up with interview session. So and then problem solving period to interview as necessary, as we explained. So what is the type of questions that we can use in the questionnaire? So how to design the questions in the questionnaire survey? So we have the same types: open-ended question, when we try to anticipate the response you will get, and also open-ended questions will suit for getting opinion. But we should consider that even when we use or write the open-ended questions in the questionnaire, it must be narrow enough to guide the respondents to answer in the specific way. So it's not open-ended questions like the interview method. Here we need also, we should specify, give them limit free. We give them, let's say, like some number, like 2 lines. They cannot write 2 or 3 lines, more than 2 or 3 lines. Sometimes we give like 150 words or characters. Using open-ended questions when it is impossible to list effective options or for the in the questions. But the common questions to use in the questionnaires is the closed question. It's used when all options may be listed, so we can list the options, and when the options are mutually exclusive. Previously, or the traditional way of distributing the questionnaires is printing out, writing down and printing out the survey and distribute it by hand or sending mail and so on. But nowadays we have electronical submitting questionnaires, meaning that we use applications like SurveyMonkey or the Google form, which provide you with option of creating a form of questionnaire, and you distribute it to the target people by maybe by sending through emails, and then they can respond and so on. It reduce the cost, and it also facilitate and make ease of using the feedback and analysis, because it will provide the details on the in what we call on the Excel sheet, and sometimes even in the web page it will give certain indicators and descriptive analysis. Thank you so much for listening to the session. And in this session, we try to cover all the interactive methods with the human participant in the organization, either through the interview, which is the most dominant method, traditional method, and then we have also uh, the joint application approach, and we also discuss the story, organization stories, and so on. And lastly, we discuss the questionnaire. All of this is interactive methods that we use to get information. And for the next class or next video, we will try to cover unobtrusive methods, which is normally we don't bring the human here, which is less disruptive to the work of the organization. Sometimes we review the documents, we review the website, we try to observe and so on. So we will have that in the next video in details. And one point I'd like to inform here or to mention, as I said in the beginning, this kind of skills or knowledge that we share today, sometimes you feel like it is a kind of information irrelevant to the information technology, but or to to the accounting. This kind of information is kind of skills or knowledge that related to the data collection. Data collection, some in the real life or business, we normally require this or we need this kind of skills to gather the information with different methods, and we decide we should, if you we should be aware of it. And also, if you study the research methodology, you will get kind of this information about the interview and type of questions, questionnaire, and so on. So it is kind of quantitative and qualitative methods to collect data. And I would appreciate everyone here to give attention to this kind of knowledge and skills that not only will benefit the student in their academic life, but also in the business and real business life. Thank you so much, and see you next video.